Hello and welcome back to Not Just Another Fat Girl. This is Kristen, aka your resident fat girl, and y'all are getting me in the real today. You are getting me with no makeup. My hair isn't too bad actually right now. It doesn't look too bad. So we'll go with it. But y'all are getting me in the natural and the raw, and that's okay because I kind of wanted to have more like almost like a pillow talk with y'all. I decided to do a story time today about something that I think every single person in the dating world has encountered, and that is a nightmare date. Um, Everybody has a bad date at least once, and if you haven't, then sweet cherry pie, count your lucky stars because you are a rarity. You are the exception to the rule. I think the rule is that everybody has at least one bad date in their lifetime for sure, if not many, many more. Um, Thankfully, I have not had too many bad dates, but there is one in particular that stands out as just, there's no other word for it. It was just a nightmare date. So, first of all, I have been divorced for 5 years now. My ex-husband and I have not been together in a relationship for a little over 2 years now. And basically, I was one where even though my relationship had fallen apart long before we ever went our separate ways, I still was not one who rushed to get back out there. I didn't actually start talking to people until about 7 months after me and my ex had broken up for the last time. And I didn't actually meet somebody in person until around the 14-month mark. I was that gun shy. um, and when I did, sweet cherry pie, this is where the nightmare comes in. So basically, there was this guy. I met him probably around the 8 or 9 month mark. So we were talking for quite a while before I met up with him in person. So, number one, in his photos, he looked like this slim, athletic, lean built preppy guy. He had kind of, in his photos, his shirts were kind of a little more snug fitting, not really loose or baggy. And don't get me wrong, like he had a tiny bit of an angle to it, but it wasn't anything to where it was angling from down below, not from up top. And up top is usually when they're like, let's get rid of this double chin here type of thing. And that's not the case. So I get there. We met up at a deli. It was probably about 40 minutes from my house. I get there. Number one, he does not look anything like his pictures. In the sense of he is a good 50 to 75 pounds heavier than he appeared in his pictures. And let me tell you, like, as a big girl, as a curvy girl, that is like my number one concession. In that any dating site that I've ever been on, I have always made sure to have photos that accurately reveal every single pound of me. To the point where the last time I was on a dating site, I'm actually not active on any right now. I had a picture of myself in a two-piece because I legit did not want anybody showing up expecting me to be 50, 100 pounds lighter than what I was. I've never played with angles like that. I just do very straight on. I don't even do the selfies anymore. I have someone who takes the pictures for me. So yeah, that is like a big thing for me because I don't want anyone to feel like I'm trying to be deceitful. And reversely, I kind of felt like he had been deceptive. And it's not because he was 50 to 75 pounds heavier, but it goes a little bit deeper than that with this particular person because he was a good 50 to 75 pounds heavier. His hair in his photos was kind of like that clean cut surfer look. very California-ish, where he kind of had like a little bit of the spikes up top. Organized disarray is what I like to call it. And it was very clean cut on the sides. In person, his hair was longer, shaggy, had no hair products in it. Next, his attire. So in his photos, he had very much like a preppy style to him. His clothes weren't overly baggy, but they weren't overly like musclehead tight. I don't know how else to explain it. And in person, so he had on cargo shorts that were slightly baggy. And worst part was they were covered in stains, okay? It's not just cargo shorts. They were the cargo shorts with like the big pockets on the thighs and stuff. And stains all over those. His shirt was baggier. It was a green shirt. It had a ton of that like gold and silver foil looking graphic design stuff on the front. Again, it had more stains on it, but the worst part there is it had a hole right here, like in the front of the armpits. Okay, now don't get me wrong. I'm definitely a curvy girl who will wear whatever the heck she wants. I have no problems going out in leggings and a tank top, but my big thing is that, especially when I'm meeting somebody for the first time, I always make sure that I present myself at least with a somewhat of a degree of respect to it. Make it look like I at least put a tiny bit of thought into what I wore that day. Whether that be, just leggings, a tank top, throwing on a necklace and like some ballet flats. Something to kind of like give it a little extra oomph. Yeah, and beyond that, so the actual date portion, we were at this deli and he's sitting there drinking soda, continuously burping, and I'm sitting there drinking my water because at this point it's my first date in umpteen years, and so I'm really nervous, and it's just such a bad experience. So in person, like before we met in person, like when we communicated, and this is why I actually chose to meet up with him, is because we had such great chemistry when we were talking in the messenger apps and texts and stuff like that. I mean, we had like full-on conversations that just bounced back and forth for hours. It wasn't like you text him and 30, 45 minutes goes by and then he responds. No, I mean, like it bounced back and forth. It was constant. It was steady. We had the same sense of humor, same sarcasm. Like we had differences of opinions, but we had a lot of similar opinions as well. And there was a perfect amount of chemistry for not being in person. Like the perfect amount of chemistry for being online, I guess you can say. And so that's why I decided to go ahead and meet him, because it was so great. I was like, I can only imagine how it's going to be in person. Me and my little naive, ignorant self believing that. So in person, not only did he not look anything like his pictures, not only was he doing the rude thing of the soda and the burping and stuff like that, but on top of that, in person, he was so negative. Negative to the point where he was diminishing everything that I said. He was belittling me. He kind of came across, he wasn't really aggressive in how he came across, but he came across as angry and bitter almost in person. He just had a completely different tone, totally different demeanor than what I was used to him having. To the point where, honestly, it kind of almost felt like I had met a stranger. I did not know who he was. There was very little that I recognized about him. And honestly, it was to a point where I thought at one point, am I being punked? Did he do like a little switcheroo and send his friend instead? But he knew enough about our conversations that we had had in the past when I kind of broached the subject with him that I knew it had to be him. And just... that's not even the worst part. So, as if that isn't bad enough already, I endure probably about an hour and a half of this. And then I am going to leave. And all of a sudden, he decides to be a gentleman then and walk me to my car. So he walks me to my car. And at this point, I'm just ready to go. I am just like legit ready to go home, take off my clothes, get into my comfy PJs, and just like lounge in bed and do a Netflix marathon or something. Kind of forget that that night ever happened. So he's walking to my car. I get close to my car. I'm probably like a couple feet away. All of a sudden, Buddy B launches himself at me. I mean, like full on launches himself at me. He grabs the fat on my arms, digs his nails into my arms, like basically like hooking me. And like legit, just like, I don't even know how else to explain it other than he launched himself at me. He hooked me and launched himself at me. And he kisses me and he is all teeth. All teeth. It was like the worst kiss, the worst kissing experience that I've ever had in my entire life. And all teeth to the point where he literally bites my lip and draws blood. Yeah, it's that bad. I'm trying to get away from him, but he's got his nails like dug into my arms. I legit am just kind of trapped. Alarm bells are going off in the back of my head, like wah, 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 wah. Get away, get away, get away. And I just, like, for the first time as a woman, I legit had like a moment of true panic. Because at that point he felt like a loose cannon. And I did not know what was going to come next. I just wanted to get away from him as soon as possible. Eventually, thankfully, I was able to break away from him and to get to my car. I got in my car, immediately locked my door, slammed the door, like didn't even give him a chance to say anything more to me, like slammed my door, locked the door. I pulled out my phone. I blocked him everywhere right that minute. So he could not contact me ever again. And I got home, and like I said, I just wanted to like take off that night, take off the clothes I was wearing, take off that night, forget it ever happened. Just do a Netflix marathon in bed, and I take off my clothes, and I didn't even realize it at the time, but he bruised my arms from like grabbing them so hard, and on top of that, he cut and drew blood on my left arm. So not only did he cut and draw blood on my lips, but he cut and drew blood on my left arm, left bruises on both of my arms, like fingerprint bruises on both of my arms. So that just tells you kind of how aggressive he was. And this is my first date, my first experience back in the dating world again. So yeah, definitely a nightmare experience. I was kind of scarred by that for a little while. I legit did not meet up with anybody for a solid 3 months after that. And I think that's probably the hardest part about a bad date, a bad experience, is that it is so easy to project that onto the next person. And I think we do that in relationships, period. When you have a really bad experience in a relationship, it is very easy to allow those fears to fester and to manifest in a new relationship. You are always going to be worried, if you've been cheated on, you're always going to be worried that the next person's going to cheat on you again. And you are always going to be worried that the next date is going to be as bad as that last date was, type of thing. And that's where you kind of have to take the experience for what it was. And it is just that, an experience. It is not a determining factor. Don't allow one bad experience to ruin 100 future experiences. And you are not alone. Everybody has bad dates, but the only way that you will be able to find happiness and never have to worry about going on another bad date again is to let go of those fears and let go of all of the struggles, basically just all of the mental insecurities that are associated with bad dates in general. Don't allow one bad date with one person to ruin your next 10 dates with potentially good people. Because let me tell you, ladies, there are plenty of good men in this world. You just have to find the right one for you. So I hope that you found this video, I don't know if I would say helpful, but interesting to say the least. Just in the sense of comfort to know that you are not alone in your bad experiences with the opposite sex, or heck, even with the same sex if you're whatever you are. Subscribe if you haven't already. Feel free to give me a thumbs up here. I definitely plan to do more story times with you guys. I'll share a little bit more about my life because I certainly have plenty of stories to tell. Until next time, stay fabulous and don't give up. One bad date does not mean that you are basically cursed to have 100 more bad dates. What I have found is that one bad date really is just one bad date. It's not a lucky streak of 10 bad dates type of thing. So don't give up hope, people, and stay fabulous. Bye.